Hello and welcome again to Money Tips. Charles Kelly, bringing you money tips to help you save, earn, invest, accumulate and enjoy more money. I'm a former IFA. I'm author of the book Yes, Money Can Buy You Happiness, and I'm also a property investor and an investor, in fact. I think it's the only way to be financially free is to be an investor or at the level where you own a business. You're not in the business working as a self-employed person or an employee. But that's something else. That's something for another subject. But today I want to talk about property because many of our my listeners and my viewers on Facebook live are property investors, and I'm involved with a number of property networks and training companies, and I'm sure that people are watching the market with interest. We know that sales and transactions have slumped by about 70% during this coronavirus lockdown, but now we're seeing predictions of falling house prices, and the Centre for Economics and Business Research said that more than £30,000 could be wiped off the average value of a UK home by as the coronavirus develops, and which is a lot. In some parts of the country that might be the whole house, but that's on average. They're saying that prices could tumble by, or will tumble by 13%. By the end of 2020, I think and we could see this. It's all right. So let's be positive. Don't worry about anything. But you've got to face the reality that, if as we were talking about yesterday, the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, predicting that 2 million jobs could be lost. I mean, 2 million jobs. This is getting on for levels not seen, I think, since the 1700s. Certainly. We're looking at what's going on now as comparable to the 1930s Great Depression. This is not to be confused with the Great Recession. They called it the Great Recession in 2008, but I think I've lived through a lot of recessions. I think recessions at the end of the 80s and the 90s were worse than the 2008, but that just got the name the Great Recession because it was the banking crisis. But the Great Depression of the 1930s, I think, was the worst in modern day history that we've seen. 10 years of real misery, millions and millions of jobs gone, and people literally sleeping on the streets and in shanty towns in Central Park. And that lasted a long, long time. And I think it helped to fuel the rise of fascism, extreme communism, and eventually the Second World War. However, some people made a lot of money during these recessions and depressions. There's always two sides to the story. And there's no reason why you need to sort of sit at home and go, oh my God, that's the end of the world, because there are ways of making money. And many people will see house price slumps as an opportunity to acquire more property. However, you could be stuck in that position where, you've already got property and that's gone down, and, you can't get a remortgage, you can't finance it out again. Banks are being very difficult at the moment. People I know trying to get hold of banks to just talk to them is very difficult. They seem to have gone missing in action, let alone get mortgage holidays or refinances or just further money. The banks are really what you might call pulled in their reins, saying, well, hold on, we're only going to lend to 60% loans of value. So on a £100,000 house, they wouldn't lend more than £60,000, and that will affect us because the banks are nervous. They're nervous about these 2 million jobs that are going to go. They're nervous about how long this lockdown will go on for, how it will affect the economy, and when we'll get back to normal, if ever we'll get back to normal. So that's obviously a big thing and a big worry for everybody. How are you going to get money to buy properties? Even if you can find cheap properties, how will you get finance for them? Obviously, the lucky people at the moment are those that are in cash. So there will be opportunities, like there will be opportunities in the stock market, and you can learn how to do these things. You can learn how to buy properties. You can learn how to buy properties with no money down even. I'm sure there'll be opportunities for that type of thing at the moment. Now, the other thing is that there's obviously the government are concerned about the property market because they're in talks with house builders to perhaps plans to extend the help to buy to kickstart house building. And that's a sign there that they're obviously concerned about the way the property market is going. And hi to everyone on Facebook Live. Great to see. Hi there to Tracy. So great to see you, and thanks for tuning in. Yeah, they're worried about houses because the housing market is very much a part of the UK economy. Perhaps it's not so much in other countries, but here, employs a lot of people who are sitting around at the moment, and people, once they've bought a house, they spend a lot of money on their properties. It just creates a lot of employment and lending for the banks, etc. And that's one thing they could do, rather than talking about, extending the Help to Buy, is to get the economy back to work and get the building industry back to work. And I think what we need to see more than anything else is a clear exit strategy to get out of this problem. The question was asked to Matt Hancock on the Daily Briefing today by, I think, Robert Peston from ITV, who used to be with BBC. He said, we don't see any clear exit strategy. Can you not be honest with the public and tell us what is the exit strategy, as we've seen in other countries which have started to move towards coming out of lockdowns and, as he called it, a return of our civil liberties, as he put it. But we need to see a clear exit strategy, and they basically refuse to answer that question. We've actually seen now the leader of the opposition, the new leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer. Jeremy Corbyn is gone now. Keir Starmer, who's asking the government to come up with a clear exit strategy. And I think there's a big call for this, because people realise that we need to protect the NHS, as they keep rolling out this catchphrase. It's almost like king of the catchphrase, like Bruce Forsyth. Stay home and protect our NHS. And they've got adverts running on radio and TV and on billboards on the motorways. You think, why don't they use that money to buy more protective equipment for staff rather than wasting money on adverts? But that's another story. But nevertheless, I think, yes, I think we want to see some sort of clear exit strategy. That might give the market confidence and make people realise that things will get back to a form of normality. Although whether it will ever be as it was before, I very much doubt it. I think the world is changing and has changed, and we're going to see a very different economy. But certainly things should get back to some sort of normality. And if we get people back to work in a controlled manner, perhaps phasing in a return to normality, at least get certain sectors back to work, get factories working again, get factories producing things, get house building started again, and then people can start seeing an end to this and perhaps have more confidence to then go out and buy things and get back to moving homes and that sort of thing. I think we definitely need to see that. Yes, obviously it's important to protect people, and one thing they could do to protect people more, rather than just locking everybody up and saying you stay at home, why don't they do more to protect us from people coming into the country by doing more at our borders, at airports, by screening people, rather than just letting everybody in. I think something like 2 million people came through Heathrow in March or April. Don't quote me on that, but that's a lot of people, and none of them were screened. Other people I know that have come into the country during this lockdown, they said, well, you just walk in, and I think they might point you to a leaflet to sort of self-isolate, and that's it. Then you get on the tube. After being on this big metal bird in the sky with hundreds of other people, you then get on this metal tube train with hundreds of others squeezed in, and how is that that's sensible? In other countries they screen people, they have temperature control screening at airports, and now our expert advisor said that wasn't necessary, it wasn't effective. They said, just like they said wearing a mask was not effective, and yet in other countries they do that. Some countries you have to wear a mask if you go out. Now they're saying, well, they're rethinking this plan. I mean, it makes sense to me that if you've got a mask, you're protecting other people against you coughing and sneezing, and you're protected. There is some protection there from diseases and bacteria, maybe not viruses, I don't know. But what I'm saying is the experts can change their minds, and I think that is one way we could protect the public is in the borders. So, well, there you go. That's just my opinion. I think the big call is for an exit strategy. You can influence this by writing to your MP. Just Google who is my MP. If this is assuming you're in this country and you've got an MP. I know some of the listeners here may not be listening from inside the UK, but you can lobby your MP to say, look, we need an exit strategy. The economy's dying. 2 million people could be out of work soon. 2 million more people. In America, it's 17 million people have applied for unemployment benefit. which is like the Great Depression. And if you let things slide too far, you may not be able to get things back again. We've seen companies file for bankruptcy in the high street. We've seen in America they're bailing out airlines, and I think that could happen here in the near future. Whereas if we just start getting things back to normal and providing an exit strategy, then some of this may not be necessary, because all this government money they're pouring in, the borrowing level is going to go up to billions and billions, and it will be like they borrowed to deal with the war, in the war situation. And you remember the debt in the war took something like 50 years to pay off. I remember it might have been during the Gordon Brown government, said, well, we've just made the last payment to America on the war debt. I thought, wow, that was, it took all that time to clear that debt. And I think this could be a situation like we have now, whereas if we pour too much money into debt and government borrowing, we could be paying for that for the rest of our lives and our children's lives. So I want to see an exit strategy. I want to see people getting back to work in some form or another, and getting the economy moving again. That's what we've got to see. I don't want to see an extended lockdown, which the OBR said could, if we have a 3-month lockdown, we could see UK economy slump by 35%, which would be completely disastrous. Apparently, even in the 2008 crash, we saw the economy slump by 6%, and that was bad enough. So imagine if it slumped by 35%, a third of business just wiped out like that. We're going to see mass unemployment, mass bankruptcies. So come on, government, get us back to work, get this economy moving again, and deal with the health issues as they come. We built all these emergency hospitals, which are in fact mostly empty at the moment. So I think we have reached the peak in some form or another. So let's get back to work. So thanks for listening, and have a great evening. And remember that even in these dark times, there are always opportunities, and I'll be talking about these over the next few days and how you can perhaps make some money from home while this coronavirus lockdown is going on. So thanks for listening, and have a great evening. This is Charles Kelly from Money Tips Daily, bringing you money tips to help you save, earn, invest, accumulate, and enjoy more money. Thanks very much. Bye for now.